the big picture. This is something we're trying to piece together for ourselves and for our companies and for our clients and for our fans. It's challenging even in this information age. We have lots of sources of information, but we also have lots of sources of misinformation and spam and noise. It's a challenge to sort through all of it. Being a former editor and reporter, this is something that I'm used to doing on the job. But I will argue that each of us is a natural at curation. We understand how to sift out good information from bad. But in using some tools online, I found some faster and easier ways to curate information. And this is information that you can use for content marketing. This is information that you can use to attract people. This is information that you can use to be smarter about how you run your business. This is content curation for Smarties. Know everything all the time. Like before, if you want to share any of this presentation on Twitter or social media, you're welcome to do so, and you're welcome to tag me at Wade on Tweets. We've got more postcards with a link to today's slides and worksheet and resources and video that I'll post later. And you're welcome to go back and download and review the material and share it with your colleagues who couldn't be here today. Again, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand at any point, and don't save them for the end. Curation can make a big difference in how you interact with people. It's not difficult to do. It can save you some valuable time. It can make you smarter about your industry, and it can make your followers smarter as well. And so we're going to explore this deeply in the next hour. And you've got some tweetable nuggets that I'm going to have throughout this session. Get the big picture one pixel at a time of curation. It's tagged with my name at Wade on Tweets and the hashtag SPRF2016. Again, we'll have all of this available for you to download and review as you need to. There are three areas I want to cover in curation. The first area is why do it? What is so important about it that we're spending time on it and that you should incorporate it in your limited time at work? Second is how to do it. What are the techniques? What are the tools? What are the ways that you curate information to make it easy for yourself to put it all together? Last is how to share all this good curated information. It does no good just to compile it all for yourself. You want to put it out in the world, or at least for your colleagues within your organization. There are some terrific ways to take this curation and put it out there beyond just some Facebook update, beyond just some email blast. And so I'm going to share this with you. But first we want to start out with why do we want to spend time on it? I mean, we touched on this a little bit at the beginning. I think curation is important just because it goes beyond just a need to know, but a need to share and help others grow in what they're trying to do. But there are other things behind it that I think will help you sell it for your colleagues and for your boss. For starters, when you curate information properly, it's actually a time saver. And I think all of us are looking for ways to save time in our busy schedules. It's the difference between going into the library and looking for 10 books on medieval history and walking into the library and having the librarian hand you a 10-page report on medieval history that has everything you need to know. Curating information means setting it up so that the information comes to you naturally rather than you have to go hunt for it online and through social channels and through multiple resources. When you're able to leverage it that way, curation starts to not only save you time, but to work for you. It also allows you to grow in your expertise. I started in print journalism and working as a reporter and then working with reporters as an editor. Reporters cover beats. They might cover cops or they might cover City Hall. but they're expected to know a lot about their beats. The problem is the first day on the job, they don't know anything about their beat. They don't know where the crime scenes are. They don't know who the power players are in the mayor's office or in the city council chambers. They got to learn this day by day, step by step. But 6 weeks into the job, they're starting to get the hang of it. 6 months in the job, they're practically experts at it. But that comes with learning the beat. In terms of curation, you're able to learn these topic areas very quickly because you're immersing yourself in them. And so by understanding the context and the information and the trends and the resources, you're able to put context behind it. You're able to understand it. You're able to explain it to others who are not necessarily in your industry. So this is a good opportunity to grow as a learner. And as a lifelong learner, curation is a welcome part of what I do. Curation not only makes you look like an expert, you actually become one. Beyond just compiling data, there's a very important outcome with curation, and that's being able to see the future, to understand what's coming up next. When you take all of that information and data and analyze it, you can produce some exciting conclusions for your research and development team, for your marketing team, for your sales team, for your fans, and for your customers. Because you want to know what products are going to be important in 2017. You want to know what the sales cycle is going to be. You want to know what fans and customers are going to be excited about and how to customize features and services and other things so that they'll be interested in what you have to offer. Because you're also trying to stay a step ahead of your competitors. Your competitors are also trying to figure out these questions, and the better you are at curation, and the better you are at analyzing it and drawing the right conclusions, the easier it is to grow your business, anticipate these sales cycles, and to reach your customers when and where they are. Analysis is really important, but it can't happen without the right data in place, and that doesn't happen without curating it first. So in terms of content curation, you're able to save time, you're able to gain an expertise, and you're able to analyze lots of data so that you can grow your company. Those are some pretty important reasons why we should explore how to do it and how to share it in terms of curation. How is easier than you think. As I said, I've been working on this for quite a while, and these techniques are free and they're easy to learn, and we're going to talk about each one in depth so that you understand it. But these are things that you can put into place right away. You don't have to go through some training course. You don't have to sign up for a lot of things. You can probably take the tools you're already using and turn it into curation engines. The first one is Google Alerts, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. If you go to google.com/alerts, you can try it out. But basically, as you search for anything on Google, you search a question, you search a phrase, you search a keyword, you search a news event, you search a brand name, you get a lot of results in a lot of categories. Alerts allows you to have those results emailed to you on a regular basis. You can customize it so that it comes multiple times a day or once a day, what sources are picked, what language it comes in, English or other, region, if you just want the top results or if you want all the results, and what email address to send it to. You can set up as many alerts as you want to. You can pause them, you can turn them back on. So as you get the results, you can fine-tune them. As you can see that I've selected all about that base as a phrase to search on. And so tomorrow I get email results on it, and then Tuesday I get more email results on it, and then Wednesday I get even more results on it. However, you feel free to substitute the current song of your choice, since I doubt you'll get that many results on it in 2016. But the nice thing about it is it's customizable, it's free, and there are lots of things you can do with Google Alerts. For instance, you can do reputation management. If you are trying to make sure that your company is seen in the best light, you have a Google Alert set up on the name of your company, and the name of your CEO, and the name of your products. And if something happens, a news article, a PR release, a blog post, a video, and Google finds it, it will email you that search result. You don't have to sit there and run this search constantly. Google will take care of that for you. And then you can scan through those email results at your convenience. But it also not only allow you to do reputation management, but it'll allow you to pick up on trends as they're happening, not after they happen. If you're adept and you're quick and you're clever, you can make sure that your company is ahead of the trend and adapts its products and its shipping and its market timing for your audience. So you've got lots of different ways to use these alerts. All you have to do is spend a few minutes getting them set up in Google. But that's a great way to get a lot of information from all over the web at your fingertips on whatever topics you're interested in. You had mentioned Twitter lists earlier. And if you go to twitter.com/your-username/lists, that's where you can start building it. Like if you go to twitter.com/wadeontweets/lists, you'll see the lists that I've built for public consumption. As I mentioned, even if you're not a big Twitter user, you can follow 1,000 people on your Twitter list without actually directly following them. So you can build a Twitter list around any category you can think of. If your brand has a Twitter account, you can build Twitter lists around your competitors. You can build them around thought leaders in the industry. You can build them around your top customers. You can build them around all of the Twitter users who are in your company. Zappos is a good example because they do their customer service through their individual Twitter accounts. Twitter lists are free, so you can make as many of them as you want to, and they can be public or they can be private. If they're private, that means that only you, the Twitter user, can see it. And you can use that as a resource for ideas for retweets, or blog posts, or product launches, or information that's pertinent to your industry. If you make them public, you can share them with your fans. You can share them with your colleagues. You can share them with whomever you like, and they can use that as a resource as well. Let me give you a concrete example so you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I created a list called Birmingham Restaurants, which again you can get to from my Twitter page. I'm from Birmingham, and Birmingham has a lot of good restaurants. The restaurant scene's exploding right now. I mean, there are new restaurants opening all the time. And I love dining out, so this is a good resource, even if no one else cared about it. But I basically took all the restaurants in Birmingham who were on Twitter and put them in this one list. And if you go scan through that list, you can see what every restaurant in town is talking about in terms of new menu items and videos from their chefs and special offers, and if they're closed that evening because they've got a private party, and whatever else you want to know about those restaurants. And so because that's a public list, anyone who's interested in what's going on in restaurants can just go look at the tweets. They don't even have to be on Twitter. They don't even have to have a Twitter account to look at that resource. They can just scan through the tweets and see what each restaurant is talking about. It rewards the restaurants who are tweeting regularly because they'll show up on this stream. And the restaurants who set up a Twitter account and never updated it well, they're virtually invisible anyway. But that's a great resource for people who want to dine out, whether or not they happen to be on Twitter. And that list of updates from each restaurant, you can look at it on Twitter, or you can look at it on any website that embeds it. That Twitter restaurant list is embedded on my website, so you don't even have to know it's from Twitter. You could just go to that page on my website and look at these updates and see what each of the restaurants is talking about. That's the kind of power that you can put into lists and then stick on your own website or on your own blog, or send a link to it from your Twitter account and your Facebook account and your email and wherever else you want to send people from. So Twitter lists are free. They're customizable. They can be public or private. You can build them around any category. You can use it as material to retweet or to share or to come up with ideas. If you put a private Twitter list together of your competitors, you could scan down their tweets and see which one's got the most retweets and likes and replies. And the topics that resonate the most with their audiences, you can start to use those topics with your own social media audience. So there's a lot of different things you can do when you're starting out with curation. I mean, the intent might be to curate a lot of information about restaurants, or about retail, or about real estate, or some other category, but the functions that you can get out of it are seemingly limitless. Facebook has a similar option. Twitter has Twitter lists, Facebook has interests. And if you go to facebook.com/add-list, you can find lists to join, or you can create your own. They're free. You can make them public or private. Twitter, you follow other Twitter accounts on the list. Facebook, you can add either pages or profiles to that list. You can join existing lists by searching for a particular topic or keyword, and then they'll just pop up in your stream, or you can go to that list page and scan through those updates. You can create lists for yourself, for your company, for your clients. You can create them for fans. You can create them for vendors. Again, you could build a Facebook list around your competitors. You could build a Facebook list around your thought leaders in your industry. You could build a Facebook list around employees at your organization. I built a Facebook interest list around Birmingham restaurants. Because there are more restaurants in Birmingham on Facebook than on Twitter, there are 1,200 restaurants in that Facebook list. It took a long time to get it set up, but it's easy to maintain because whenever a new restaurant opens and starts their Facebook page, I just add it to the list. That Facebook restaurant interest list has 200 subscribers, which means 200 people in Birmingham regularly see what these restaurants are sharing on their Facebook pages, even though those individuals may not be following those restaurant Facebook pages themselves. They can just go to the interest page, or it might just show up in their stream, and they get those updates. Again, the restaurants that are updating regularly on Facebook will show up on that list. The restaurants who are never updating their Facebook page, or only doing it rarely, will never show up on that list. But the opportunity is there for any person interested in dining out that afternoon or evening to see photos from that restaurant, or specials, or menu items, or whatever else they put on their Facebook page. But the way you can use it as a PR pro is to curate information about what your competitors are sharing on Facebook, or what's happening in your industry, or what your colleagues are sharing on Facebook that you can share to your corporate Facebook account. You've got lots of options. So Twitter and Facebook both have these tools built in that you can use for curation. All you have to do is set up the lists and then follow them on a regular basis. Another function in social media that I'm sure a lot of you are a part of are groups. I'm going to talk specifically about LinkedIn and Facebook because they both have groups that you can set up, that you can join, that you can follow, that you can participate in. And unlike lists, conversations, and you can interact with these your peers and fans and customers and vendors, and share good information and get good information out of it. LinkedIn.com/groups will take you to your groups page. You might already be a member of groups in LinkedIn. You might be a member of groups tied to a professional organization like SBRF or PRSA or any number of PR professional groups. You might be in a group related to your university or to your company or to a company you used to work at. With any of the groups, you can preview how active that group is. You can see if there are a lot of posts in that group or virtually none. You don't want to join a group that's not active. And you don't necessarily want to join a group where everybody's just spamming each other with their own stuff. But you do want to join a group that asks questions and talks to each other and allows you to participate and to learn more about the topic that you're interested in. You can create a group for your customers. You can create a group for your peers. You can create a group for your colleagues and employees. Just depends on what you want to get out of it. Creating the group, of course, allows you to keep in or keep out who you want to and set the group to run the way you need it to. But there are thousands of groups on LinkedIn, and the opportunity to curate from your peers is a valuable one. I'm sure many of you are in Facebook groups. Facebook.com/browse-groups takes you to the groups page. But you may be in some more informal groups. You might be in a book club group or a church group or a group tied to your neighborhood or to your high school class. But of course, you can also create groups around professional goals, just like in LinkedIn. Both Facebook and LinkedIn, you can make the group public or private. They can be as big or small as you want to. If you're in control of the group, you can moderate it, you can set the visibility the way you want to, and so on. So there are opportunities to use your existing social media platforms to be with like-minded peers and colleagues to learn more about your industry and your customers and trends and so on. A chance to really engage in a professional setting. Last category in how to curate information are hashtags. Hashtags get a bad rap because we all like to use them for fun, at least I do. But if you're not familiar with hashtags, they're keywords. And when you add that hashtag symbol in front of them, they become clickable and searchable. You find them on Twitter, you find them on Instagram, they sort of work on Facebook. I don't think they work at all on LinkedIn. But it's a way to curate a lot of information quickly. We've talked a little bit about the SPRF 2016 hashtag. When you have a hashtag around an event, you can use it in advance to meet up with people that are going to be at the event, speakers, vendors, and so on. You can use it to talk about what's going to happen during the event, and tweets, and updates, and photos, and live videos, and so on. You can use it to promote if you're speaking, or if your company is doing an exhibitor booth, or other promotions, or giveaways, or demonstrations. That's just one way to use it. It's just during live events. But you can use it around trending topics, you can use it around product launches, you can use it around your company as a whole, you can use it during recurring chats on Twitter, you can use it on recurring themes on Instagram. There are lots of ways to deploy them. In using them consistently and promoting them, you can get a lot of information very quickly. So there's this conference that I do called Y'all Connect, which we do in Birmingham each year, and it's on blogging and social media and digital marketing, and the hashtag is Y'all Connect. And so, at the conference every year, I tell everyone to tag all of their tweets and photos and videos and anything else with Y'all Connect, no matter what social media channel they're on. And then after the conference, I go and collect as much of that data as I can, and I put it in this 60-page transcript, which is searchable and clickable, and I put it on our website, and then anyone can download that transcript. So Everything that our speakers shared and our attendees shared and our volunteers shared, it's all in that one document, which is great because if you went, then you can go and review all of it. And since you can't be in 3 sessions at the same time, you can go and learn from the other 2 sessions that you weren't a part of. And if you didn't attend, you can go on the website right now and download it and go learn about all of the different sessions from all of the tweets that were #WeAllConnect. Now, you might assume that it takes me days upon days to assemble that document, but it really only takes me about 15 minutes. And that's because when they're all hashtagged, they're easy to assemble and synthesize into one piece. But if there are hashtags related to your industry or your products or your customers, it's easy to gather that information. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. But the fact that it's clickable and searchable makes it easy to get that information together. And if you promote specific hashtags around your company or brand, then you know that it's going to be related to things that you're definitely interested in. So that's the value in using hashtags on social media platforms to curate content. So you've got a Twitter list, you've got Facebook interests, you've got groups on LinkedIn and Facebook, you've got hashtags, lots of different resources on putting all this information together. Curation begins with collection, and it's so easy. So you understand why curation is important, and you know some different ways on how to put that information together. The last part of this equation is sharing it, is to putting it out into the world, which I think is the most important step of all. I mean, it does you no good just to get all of this curated information and hoard it to yourself. At the very least, I think it makes a lot of sense to share it across your organization, to different departments and different individuals who aren't as adept at curating information, who don't have their finger on the pulse of what's going on out there in the wider world. But definitely share the information you can with the public at large as well. The great thing about curation online is you've got different options to do so that are easy to use, are free or relatively inexpensive, and can get your information out there in the right format. Let's take a look at those options. How many of you write for a blog for yourself or for your company or for your brand, by show of hands? You're breaking my heart.
Well, I have one, but I'm not very consistent.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Well, yeah, I've got one.
I'm not gonna quiz you on how frequently you blog, but
Okay, well, then I have one.
Thank you.
you know, I'm destined to be heartbroken because until I see every hand go up at every presentation when I ask that question, it's not going to be enough. I'm partial to blogging because I've been blogging for 11 years. I've got thousands of posts online. I'm blogging every day. It's my go-to place for sharing information, curated or otherwise. It's important to have territory that you own in the digital world. You can share this information on Facebook. I just put out a post last week about different ways you can start blogging in 2016, and most of those platforms were third-party platforms: Blogger, Facebook, LinkedIn, WordPress. And the problem with those third-party platforms is they can go away at any moment, and all that work and all that time you invested in just disappears overnight. But your site, your blog that you create, that you host, that's yours. You control it. You can share it, you can design it, you can make it the way you want it to be, and it can stay up for as long as you want it to stay up. And this gives you a home base on where you can build off of with other platforms, social media, email, and so on. But I always think the blog post should be the starting point for any outreach campaign. YallConnect, that conference that I do, I mean, we're curating information from all of our speakers. Videos and talks they give and links and books that they do and so on. I share it on the YallConnect blog, which means that if you don't happen to be in the same room with them that 1 hour of the year they happen to be in Birmingham, you still get to learn from them for the cost of just going to the Y'all Connect site. But it's a great way to show off curated resources very easily and the way you want it to be seen via your brand, via your company. I do a weekly Twitter chat called Sunday Read. It's just items hashtag Sunday Read of just like books and poems and essays and in-depth articles and investigative pieces that take longer to read. And I participate in this chat every Sunday and share things that I think you should be reading because I find them interesting, or I think you'll find them interesting or entertaining or something. But the first thing I do is that at midnight, a post goes up on my personal blog that lists all of my shares for the week. And so if you don't happen to be on Twitter, which many of you are not, you can just go to the website and click on the link and go directly to those essays or stories or articles or posts or whatever. So all the time, I'm taking curated information, I'm trying to put it out there in the wider world. I don't want it just to live on Twitter. I mean, I love Twitter, but most people are never going to use it. And they're not going to use it at the same time I'm using it anyway. But this website that I own, it'll be there forever. And it'll give people an opportunity to learn and grow and share that material however they want to. So think carefully about when you go to the effort to curate information, how do you want it out there? One way is to put it on your company site or blog so that people gravitate towards it as a resource, a reliable, dependable, easy to find resource. Storify is a free tool that is built for curation. If you go to storify.com, you can sign up for a free account and start trying it out right now. Lots of media organizations use Storify, and media organizations already have their own platforms. They have TV cameras and studios, they have printing presses, they have websites, they have the same social media channels that we do, and a lot of them use Storify on breaking news and big recurring topics. And the reason they use it is because you can easily gather tweets, Flickr photos, Instagram photos, Facebook posts, links. You can type in your own text, and you can assemble it in whatever order you want to on Storify and share that link to that Storify story. Or embed that Storify story on your own website. And then you or I, if we go look at that post on Storify, we can share each individual piece. Or we can comment or like each individual piece. Or we can go find the original Instagram photo or the original tweet that's embedded in it. So you got lots of options in using Storify to collect a lot of disparate information from across multiple channels and the web into one coherent story. That can be a great resource for your fans. That can be a great resource for your customers. It can be a great resource to put together after a conference. If there are things that you find after the SPRF conference that you want to share with the wider audience, you can search for the hashtag, or you can search for SPRF, or you can just go and collect articles and tweets or your own photos and put them into one Storify post. I've used Storify many times over the years for professional and personal projects. It's very simple to use, and it's a great curation tool and a great way to share curated information. Pinterest, I've been on Pinterest for quite some time. I haven't had a lot of time to spend pinning of late, but for your visual learners, for your visual fans, you can create pin boards on any topic related to your brand, your products, your services, your industry, and pin items to it on a recurring basis. You can share it with your Pinterest audience, and you can share it with a larger audience beyond Pinterest. But as long as there's some kind of visual element, you can compile some terrific and wonderful mosaics that can really engage your audience in a way that text or a slideshow or a Facebook update cannot. If this were a regular Sunday where I were at home and not at a conference, the Emmys are on tonight. And before the Emmys and the Oscars, they always have the red carpet. And what I do for that 1 or 2 hours before the actual ceremony is I pin every red carpet fashion that's available. Because they're always available on wire services and entertainment sites and news sites and social media. And if you go to my Pinterest page, you'll find this gigantic pin board, because I mean, this is several years worth of like Oscar and Emmy fashions. I'm not even particularly interested in fashion. This is just a fun way to curate something that I don't normally follow because it's so easy to do. And for some reason, no one else is doing it. But this is just a way that I curate something visual for fun because it's a great resource year-round, because people will go back to that pin board over and over again and repin those things to their own pin boards, or click through to see the original photo and the description of whatever that celebrity was wearing. But there are lots of different ways that you can use Pinterest to not just curate information, but show it off in a way that you can't show off on other social media channels, and probably can't even show off on your own website. The last two tools are specifically related to Twitter. The first one is TweetReach. You go to tweetreach.com and you try it out for free. There's a free level, and then there's a subscription level, and you can also pay per report. TweetReach searches Twitter for whatever keyword or phrase or username or hashtag or whatever text you put in their search window. If it finds up to 50 tweets, it'll just show them to you for free. It'll give you the statistics behind it, how many impressions they made, over what time period, how many Twitter users use that phrase or hashtag or whatever, and so on. If it's more than 50, it'll give you an approximate number. Like here it said, at the time I generated this report, there were 1,500 estimated tweets with the phrase all about that base. Estimated reach of 62,000 accounts, 70,000 impressions, and you can scroll down what Twitter users used it the most, and so on. And then you can either buy the report to download, or you can subscribe and then get multiple reports over your subscription period. So going back to that Y'all Connect transcript. Each year I put together a transcript. All I do is I go into TweetReach and I put in the Y'all Connect hashtag, and then pay $20 or whatever, download the report, and then upload the report to my site, and then share it with everyone who went to the conference and so on. That's it. I mean, that's how easy it is to assemble a report. You can go after the end of this conference and put in hashtag SPRF 2016 and generate a report with all the tweets using that hashtag. It only searches across Twitter, but you can search any phrase or keyword that you want. So you can search a brand name, your brand name, and generate all the tweets and create a report off it and see the reach that it has currently. This is a handy tool to have, especially if you've got to compile a lot of tweets around a hashtag or a phrase. I basically use it on a per report basis, but obviously there are organizations that need it on a subscription basis because they're constantly generating reports to track Twitter sentiment and mentions. This is the first of two tools that use Twitter to generate reports. The second one is called hash tracking. If you go to hashtracking.com, you can try it out. The difference between hash tracking and TweetReach. First one is hash tracking only allows hashtag searches. No phrases, no usernames, and so on. TweetReach allows you to search hashtags and other things. Other thing about hash tracking is it is only a paid service, so you either have to buy the report or you have to subscribe. So I've not used hash tracking, but I have friends and peers who have used it for their weekly chats, for their client reports, and so on. I've seen the reports, by the way, and they're terrific. What you see on screen is an example of one of the hash tracking reports. Again, you're seeing the number of tweets, which ones used it in an @reply or a retweet, the exposure or the number of impressions, who tweeted it the most, who was the most influential among the tweeters, in other words, who has the biggest Twitter audience, and so on. So a lot of robust data around hashtags through hash tracking. So with tweet reach and hash tracking, you're not only able to do curation by collecting all the tweets around a hashtag or a search term, you can also download the report with that curated information and share it with colleagues or share it with the public at large. So blog posts, Storify, Pinterest, hash tracking, tweet reach, just a handful of the ways that you can take curated information beyond just sending a link in Facebook, beyond just sending a link in an email blast. If you take the time to curate all this robust information from various sources, be sure to explore these different ways to share it, because this is a great way to engage a larger audience, to share different forms of data, and to make it understandable and approachable to as many fans and customers as possible. Share what you learn through curation every day. So we got postcards, and again, they're Y'all Connect postcards, and they'll have the URL, it's Wade/SPRF Curation, and that link is active. So it'll have the slides that you can download, it'll have the worksheet, it'll have the resources. You're welcome to share that link with anyone. I'll post the video sometime in this upcoming week, and you're welcome to share that as well, so if you want to go back and review it or pass it along to colleagues. Again, Y'all Connect, August 11th in Birmingham, our one-day social media and blogging conference with emphasis on digital marketing. I hope you'll check it out. URLs on the postcard with all the information about the conference, along with the blog and other resources. And if you have questions about curation, you can email me at wade@wadekwon.com. You can visit my site, birminghambloggy.com. And you can tweet me your questions at Wade on Tweets. And the URL for the presentation, it's Wade/SPRF Curation, all lowercase. You're welcome to tweet that out as well.
Anyone have questions? Wade?
If you go back to the previous slide.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you tried using any of the kind of more automated services like Curata or anything like that, where it takes that kind of forms like a email that you can send out as an email blast to like customers, clients, whatever the case may be, industry folks, if you're in an industry organization? Have you tried any of those, or do you have thoughts on that? Do you think it takes away from it if you automate it?
Have I tried automated services like Curata or other for curation and for engagement like email blasts and so on? I have not. Can you tell me a little bit more about Curata?
My understanding is you can, it's almost like Google Alerts. You set up the parameters you want it to pull certain types of content. It will automatically curate that, and then it will set it up by pre-formats it into basically an email blast that you can send out. So if you are looking up rocket science, you can look up rocket science and send that out to your audience that wants information or would use that information. But I just didn't know much about that, because I know a lot of people are starting to automate it because it is time consuming to do this, but I'm just curious if it works as well or not.
I don't have first-hand knowledge of it. I can tell you that, to use a technical term, I'm too much of a fuss budget to use too many of the automated services. And even so, like MailChimp is the service I use for email. And with email, you can tie in your RSS feed, which automatically generates your latest posts from your blogs, or topics related to your industry directly into your MailChimp newsletters. And I haven't even engaged those. But I have seen them used primarily in Twitter. Like, I'll see Twitter accounts where I know that there's automated curation going on behind the scenes, because either this person has enough time to write 50 to 100 tweets a day on one given industry, or it's automated. But the content that I'm seeing from these super users who are sending out these automated tweets, they're pretty good. Like, I'm still following them. Like, I don't feel like it's too much. I don't feel like they're badly written. I don't feel like I'm talking to a robot. I feel like it's integrated naturally enough that if you're okay with getting a flood of information on a specific topic, then you should follow that person. But I also know that behind the curtain, it's just a robot. It's not that person hammering out that many tweets. But whatever curation engine they're using, it's a pretty good one because, you know, it's powering their account and it's still drawing in more followers than it is pushing away. The only standard answer I can give you is it's always worth trying out, even on a limited term basis, just to see what happens. Because usually, most things that you do in terms of experimentation aren't going to break your brand or, you know, drive away so many people that you can't recover from it. You know, you'll initially get a handful of people who tell you they don't like it because of X, Y, or Z. But then you may also get a lot of people who love it because it's a great resource or because, you know, they're getting what they need and you're not having to do anything other than the initial setup. But I'm not personally familiar with some of the curation engines out there. And I think part of it's just because, so I come from a journalism background. And so, like, I'm a huge believer in editors, like, as gatekeepers. You know, like, I really believe that editors are really good at filtering knowledge and then sharing that knowledge through their correct channel, whether it's television or social media or radio or print or whatever. And like the first news item I saw after Facebook fired all of their human editors on their curated trending topics was their automation system let through like one of those patently false political stories, and it was going to happen again and again until either they fixed the algorithm or they put some human beings back in the loop. But knowing Facebook, they're probably not going to put any human beings back in the loop because they're too hard to control. So I don't have that much first-hand knowledge with curation engines, but I'm just too picky to let a machine do it for me. But that doesn't mean that machines can't do a good job of doing it for specific brands and tasks. And we're gonna be relying on them more anyway.
Sure. From your personal experience, as far as frequency goes, what do you find is like an acceptable frequency with which to share this content? So I know like people are hit with so much, you don't want to send a tremendous, overwhelming amount of content out. So what are you finding from your personal experience as an acceptable frequency of which to send this out?
Okay, so how much should you send out on your social media channels or your emails or blog posts for your fans? That's a question I get regularly. And this is my extremely controversial answer that you can take down verbatim and shout from the rooftops that I've said this publicly and I stand by this. You should share as much as you damn well please and let your audience pay the consequences. This is why I believe this. I tweet like crazy. I tweet all the time. And I don't even tweet as much as celebrities and Twitter rock stars and so on, but I tweet a lot. And if you unfollow me because of the volume of it, I don't care. I hope you unfollow me because if it's unpleasant to read that many tweets, you should not subject yourself to that for any reason. I mean, Twitter should be fun. Twitter should be meaningful. You shouldn't follow people on Twitter out of any obligation other than you like that person, you find them interesting, you find them funny or whatever. Whether it's someone you know or someone you don't know. My only goal on Twitter in sharing all this is if I gain more followers this week than I lost this week, that's a good week. And most weeks, that's usually the case. And those are people who are interested in what I'm saying. And at some point down the road, they may get tired of it, and then they'll unfollow. And that is perfectly all right. Because we all make those decisions every moment of the day. When you are changing Pandora stations, when you are changing YouTube videos, when you are scrolling through your infinitely long Facebook feed, you don't click on every link that comes through. You don't watch every video to completion. You don't read every story from beginning to end. You usually drop out at some point. That's perfectly fine. This is your time to manage. But in the same equation, you should share as much as your audience can take in terms of good stuff. Like if you're tweeting on behalf of your brand, or you're blogging on behalf of your brand, or you're putting stuff on Facebook on behalf of your brand, you should come up with as much great content as possible that will either entertain them or inform them or make them feel something. And as long as it's related to your brand and your mission, you're fine. It's only when you stray off brand that it becomes a problem. But if they don't want it anymore, the unfollow button's right there. I mean, like, no one has a gun to their head saying, you've got to continue subscribing to this Facebook feed or else. Most businesses shy away from that. They just will not, they're afraid of spamming their audience. But if you're putting out really good stuff, they will come to you in droves. Because most of the other stuff out there is mediocre and boring and not very informative and not very well written or not very well videoed. That is my Sermon on the Mount in terms of how much to share. But I always say share as much as you want and make sure it's really good. I mean, I do make an effort to make sure my tweets are funny or interesting or well-sourced, but that's just my brand and who I am. That doesn't mean everyone should be that way. That would be really boring. I follow lots of people who make stuff up and are poorly sourced and, you know, but are either entertaining or funny or interesting or provocative or something. But yeah, you should use it to maximum effect, and as long as you're bringing in more people than you're pushing away, you're all right.
It's interesting you say that because we hire a lot of content creators, and I found that the content creators who come from a journalism background, every single time we use their blog post or they create social content for us, it always outperforms people who have just started creating content as a digital influencer. But I go back to the example of it's the quality of the content. I feel like we're in this content bubble, and it's like a real estate bubble. There's such an overwhelming amount of it that only the good stuff's going to get through. So I always tell clients, it doesn't matter how much we push through, it's just got to be good content. So but it's interesting because those that have experience writing for target audiences and know how to do that and create quality content that's edited, grammatically correct, it always outperforms the other stuff that we get.
And I'll say one more thing on this area, which is I read a lot on SEO. SEO is an interesting topic that's always changing, and it doesn't necessarily affect everyone, and not everyone really needs to worry about it. But the current, but you do have to see where Google stands on content and SEO. You always need to know what they're rewarding, what they're penalizing. And what Google rewards in 2016 is well-written, good content that helps people. It used to be backlinks, it used to be keywords, it used to be meta tags, it used to be this, it used to be that. And currently what's in vogue is well-written content, which means that if you are spending money on professional writers or journalists to create your content, that is a solid investment. That's going to last you a while because that's going to rank you higher according to Google. It's going to drive more page views. It's going to get you that snippet spot at the top of search results pages where they're trying to answer the question without even clicking through. Where are lemurs most found in the world? It'll give you like a snippet as to like what country it is. And if you want to click through to that article, you can. But essentially, you've got your answer, especially if you're a mobile user who just needs to find something quickly and not necessarily read through a 500-word article on lemurs. So good content is back in vogue, and that's a good reward for those who are investing in the time and the quality.
Do you use or know much about, I'm new to this, so the if this then that, how would that work with all of this?
Okay, so you're asking about a tool called If This Then That, which is a website that allows you to connect different websites, channels, properties, etc. For example, let's say you use Twitter and Google Docs or Google Drive. You can set up a recipe, that's what they're calling If This Then That, where every time you tweet something with a specific hashtag, it goes into a spreadsheet automatically in Google Docs. So it creates an automatic transcript of whatever Twitter account or search term you have connected to it. So I've got if this then that, and I basically created a recipe where every time someone uses the hashtag y'all connect, it goes into the spreadsheet and it lists the tweet, the username, the date, the time, the link to the tweet, and so on. And so it's curating the spreadsheet for me 365 days a year, and I can go refer to that spreadsheet at any point, and I can share that spreadsheet, or I can keep it to myself. I can go find those individual tweets, but it's curating all that information, pulling it in automatically. If this then that is a free tool. I don't know a lot about it because I haven't explored it that deeply.
Right, I've just started learning about it, I haven't used it yet, but I wondered if you had.
But it lists all of the different properties that you can connect to it. And it also has a free database of all the recipes that other users have created. So you can take each recipe and copy it and just plug in your own username. And the thing that I would encourage about it is just try it out. And the most challenging part is just trying to figure out how the recipes work and getting them to work the way you want them to work.
Well, I was just reading on LinkedIn, and one of our members of SPRF, that's also a member of Cram Central, her daughter had written an article about how she's used that to gather the information she needs to build her business. When somebody's searching, looking for information about a freelance artist, I think that's what she does, or graphic design, then she knows they can respond immediately to those people with a proposal or something like that. And she said that it significantly increased her business.
That's terrific.
But that was the first I really learned about it, was introduced to it, so I just wondered, if you were using it and how you were using it.
I'm barely using it, and if I had more time, I would dig more into it because I like being able to program and set up these kinds of things. But I would need to learn a little bit more about the different channels that I can use with it. Because I think I get their weekly newsletter, and their weekly newsletter has suggestions and the newest ideas and so on, so you can just sign up for that on their site. But
It seems like if you can figure out you've got to figure out what you want or what you need. And then once you define that, it would be an easy way to set something up and keep getting the information sent to you, and it takes a little of the work out of it for you.
if this then that is one of a series of tools that are kind of the next wave, and basically that next wave is they're trying to automate all of these things that you and I have to do by hand. Every time someone fills out a form on the web, typically we want that form to end up in a database somewhere. And usually what happens is you and I have to cut and paste or import it in manually. And there are services like If This Then That and Zapier and so on that we're trying to close that gap because we have so many more devices and we have so many more inputs, and there are so many different ways that we want that information in one place. So I'm glad you asked about that. In closing, now that you understand why curation is so important and how to do it and how to share it out there, I really encourage you to dive deep into it and to figure out what curation is going to work best for your organization, what is going to excite your fans and your customers, what's going to make you smarter about your industry. It's not just about feeding your personal curiosity, though I strongly encourage you to be curious about the world around you. It's feeding your people in your community to make them smarter, to give them better context, to get them excited about what's coming up around the bend. It's not about the Smarties in this room who are getting better at content curation. It's making everyone in the world a Smartie with and through curation. Thank you.